Well, okay, you, yes, you. Put your hand down and listen to everything that will be said for you. If you keep your hand up, it means you won't be listening. Listen, okay? Maybe the answers will come.
I want to express my gratitude to you. I was just waiting for my baby, my son. I listened to lectures almost all the time. They were simply the answers to my questions that came and came and came. I'm very grateful to you for this.
Thank you very much. I am also grateful to you.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I have a question that I haven't been able to find answers to for 4 years, even though I've been engaged in spiritual practice for many years. Maybe you could give me some wise advice. When I got married, literally after a few months, my husband started having epileptic seizures. They started appearing in an aggressive way.
Is he feeling a little better now?
Now he doesn't live with us.
You don't know. It was a difficult period. This disease is hard to treat, but there are still periods when it's better or worse.
At that time I was pregnant, and it was completely unbearable to be around.
I understand you.
Your lectures were the only thing that helped.
I understand what you mean.
More than that, there was alcohol, suicidal thoughts, cutting veins, and everything else.
You don't need to explain to me how difficult it was for you. Ask what you want to know.
It just so happened that he sued us out of everything with the help of lawyers, and it turned out we had nothing at all.
I think this is simply due to your lack of legal knowledge. The state always protects women with small children in family matters.
But they didn't protect us.
You should try again, and then everyone will protect you. You just need to continue, 100% sure.
He took out all the money we had in the house and sold everything. I didn't even understand how it happened. And I have this question. I understand inside that I need to treat him with love. I should forgive everything. But I've been forgiving for a long time. But at the same time, I understand that I need to stand up for my rights.
Yes, do just that. Forgive, treat with love, and stand up for your rights. There's no contradiction in these things. People accuse me of having a strict voice, but you should know that strictness in voice is a form of love. It's not anger. There should be strictness in voice for a person to understand what's right. There's no anger in it. It's exactly the same when a judge passes a sentence. They can be kind, have a kind attitude towards the person, but at the same time want to help this person by punishing them. Similarly, you must stand up for your rights. If we talk about who should punish whom, undoubtedly more of the wrongdoing in this situation, in terms of relationships, was from your part. You should have lived separately with him and set conditions for living together. You had to educate this person, but you simply abandoned him.
We had nowhere to live separately.
Well, I understand that the situation was difficult, but I'm now talking about what happened and why it happened this way. You need to understand that your action caused a certain reaction from your fate. There was a certain reaction from your fate and your heart. This reaction is harsh towards you, and you need to understand why, because no matter how badly a close person behaves, you shouldn't divorce. You should live separately and educate him. When you live separately, he can then choose either to betray you or, on the contrary, to agree to your conditions. But if you don't give a choice, then fate doesn't give you a choice either. It also punishes you, treats you strictly. Definitely, this doesn't justify his behavior regarding the apartment. That means here he also started making mistakes and started to misbehave. You should defend your rights.
Thank you. I just wanted to understand why he was so furious when I listened to your lectures. All our furniture in the house was destroyed. He just couldn't stand not only your lectures, but anything at all.
Because whenever a person develops, it's always very difficult for close people to see it. There are 3 types of intelligence activities in a person. The first type of activity, the intelligence that goes down. When intelligence goes down, it's called a life in degradation. Even if a person just begins to stabilize their intelligence, they just start thinking about developing in society, working, studying. If people are degrading, they develop a protest in their heart against this. For example, let's say a woman just doesn't want to drink with her husband and wants to live normally. She wants material development and social development. We're not even talking about spiritual development. Just this alone causes protest in the heart, because when a person's intelligence degrades, goes down, any stabilization causes pain in their heart. The second option, a person's intelligence has stabilized. That means they don't want to develop much. They just want to live like everyone else. They want an apartment, a car, enjoy sex, or something else. Well, that means they just want to enjoy life, they don't want development. If a person starts developing next to them, meaning their intelligence starts going up, it immediately causes pain in the heart of the person who is nearby. Therefore, when people go up, they start developing. The first exams they take are the exam of humility. You need to treat close people very kindly, very gently, with love and patience, because they're not ready for your development. No one is ever ready for someone nearby to start changing. When a person stops eating apples, no one notices. They stopped, they don't eat apples, it's no big deal. If a person stopped drinking milk, it gets a bit more attention, but if a person stopped eating meat, everyone immediately becomes very tense, because meat is food that pulls you down hard. Similarly, if a person completely stops drinking, if a person drinks a little, everyone is relaxed, but if they completely stop drinking, it's scary, because their consciousness starts to rise strongly upward in this case. Therefore, there are actions that create strong tension in other people. When a person starts going to a temple, but before they didn't go, it creates strong tension. Let's say a person changed their clothes to more modest ones. For example, a woman used to walk with a half-open body and then decided to dress in a way that doesn't attract men's attention very much. As a result, this causes tension again. Why are you dressed like a nun? And so on. If you just listen to pop music at home, nobody pays attention. But as soon as you start listening to spiritual music, everyone becomes tense. Why? Because when someone's consciousness rises, people are scared. What will happen next with my close person? And therefore you should be very gentle, attentive, and caring with them. And this kindness will invisibly start raising the self-awareness of your close ones. As a result, they will also slowly develop. But it's very important to pass this transition period honestly before your close ones, because you should know that your close people personify your punishment before God. This is your past pulling you back. It torments you. Everything that you did wrong in your life before now tells you, do you have the right to go to God? Prove it. If you are humble and kind, if you are able to forgive your close ones and endure their unfairness towards you, then you have the right. But if you behave just as cruelly with them as they do, then you do not have the right.
Please tell me how to understand the reason why fate brought us together. I went to church for so many years. Life was so cheerful.
I don't want to tell you this reason. You're not ready to hear it. I'm speaking now, but you're not hearing me. You're saying your own thing. You're not ready to hear the reason, so I won't tell you. The reason is always within the person themselves. It never happens that a person receives some fate, and yet they are not guilty of anything. It's impossible in this world. The reason is always inside you. It's too early for you to hear about this. I can't tell you because you won't agree with me.
No, I know for sure that the reason is in me. I don't blame anyone. I just want to understand what I should do.
To understand, you need to forgive your husband first, because the path to understanding your fate goes through accepting fate. The first stage, you need to accept your relatives. They personify fate. If you accept, then the Lord will give you a deeper understanding of your fate. But right now, you hate your ex-husband in your heart. You don't accept him. I know this for certain. I can see your relationships, your connections. I'm reporting the situation to you. With such an attitude towards this person, it's impossible to accept your fate. You are rebelling against God's laws right now.
Thank you very much. Can I ask a question about health?
What do you think? Is there anyone else here in this hall besides you?
Well, don't answer now. Maybe you can address headaches and spinal hernias during the lecture.
Yes, definitely.
I came to you thanks to my son. He told me about you and gave me your lectures to listen to. I'm very grateful to him. The situation is as follows. Today, right before the lecture, before coming here, my son came and told me that he's breaking up with the woman he's been living with for 4 years.
Look, the phrase breaking up with a woman already shows the level of personal development. If a person lives with someone for 4 years, he's not living with a woman, but with a wife. But if he doesn't know that when you live with someone, that's your wife, if he doesn't understand this, then what's the point of talking about preserving these relationships? Naturally, if a person isn't developed, he loses relationships.
But the thing is, I consider him quite a developed person.
There is material development, there is moral development, and there is spiritual development. People can be materially developed, have an important position, but in moral matters they're at a first-grade level, and they can make such foolish decisions in moral matters that it seems impossible. Development exists in 3 layers of life. They may absolutely not intersect with each other. For example, a person can be very materially developed and belong to the upper class of society in material terms, but in moral matters they can have very weak development.
The thing is, he told me that he doesn't want to torture her because he can't financially provide her. They've been living on her money for 4 years. He's not succeeding in business and so on, and he's very worried about this.
He should ask her if she wants to be tortured or not.
She wants to stay with him.
Well, if she wants to be tortured, then why is he deciding that he shouldn't torture her?
Well, he thinks he's not worthy of her.
It doesn't matter what he thinks. Look, I'll explain it to you now. It's very simple. Let's say I tell you, please don't torture yourself and go away from my lecture. Yes, don't torture yourself, leave. You say, I'm not suffering, Dr. Torsunov, I want to listen. No, you're suffering, you should leave. Is this violence or not?
It's violence.
So he's committing the same kind of violence now, there's no difference.
Now another question.
No, stop, my dear, wait. We're talking for everyone, not just for you. Let's study this situation. It's very important to understand here that understanding what family is an important aspect of humanism in general. People often think that if they haven't decided they're a family, then there is no family. For example, people live together for a year. Living together, that's already a family. You understand? It gradually forms, of course. Maybe it formed in half a year. But on average, let's say they live together for a year. That's already a family. This family means that a certain connection has formed between people, and when this connection is broken, life falls apart for both of them. The one who leaves receives a reaction later. That means in their next family life, they will face the consequences. I've deeply studied this topic. I'm saying this with 100% certainty, because I've seen these situations many times. If the person who was abandoned doesn't forgive, it will also be difficult for them to create a family later. Their fault is less, of course, but they still didn't manage to keep the relationship, and therefore they need to forgive at least. Sit down, because when you're standing, you're not listening to me. You need to relax and listen. If a person doesn't study this topic of conscience in family relationships, if they don't understand what family is, then talking about their ability to preserve family is meaningless, because they simply don't understand the elementary things in these matters. Well, for example, how can I add 3 numbers if I don't know what addition is, if I haven't studied it? Similarly, in family, there are elementary rules and principles that you must know. If a person doesn't know them, then they get confused. This is how confusion in this situation occurred. When people live together, they always accumulate joint difficulties because human life is meant for learning. We all first enjoy living together. We like everything. We like being close for some time. Then this enjoyment ends because God first gives gifts to people and then trials. The trials have begun, and he unconsciously wants to run away from this because he doesn't know that this is a trial now. He hasn't studied this topic. And since he's a good, honest person, as you rightly said about your son, he can't just run away. He needs a valid argument. The most compelling argument is that you need this breakup more than I do. But the reason for all this lies in insufficient moral development. So you have to develop morally yourself now, because you're connected to him by an invisible thread. First you develop, then this development is transmitted from you just as nectar, or fragrance is transmitted from one flower to another. He will also begin to change near you, and these changes will also affect his understanding of personal life. You see, right now I don't know if I can preserve this marriage with my words. Maybe he will hear me through you somehow, or you'll give him part of this lecture to listen to, I don't know. But one way or another, I know for certain that they were given to each other by God. They are suitable for each other. They are both good, educated people. They both have wonderful qualities. Your son's wife has very strong intelligence. She's such an educated and strong-willed, intellectual person. Your son is a kind person. He has many good qualities in terms of relationships. The fact that he considers himself deficient in terms of work is also wrong. He's just going through a bad period now. It will end in 4 or 5 months, and he will have a job. This is a temporary phenomenon. It just lasted long, about 1.5 years, but it's temporary. It will end too. The reason he wants to destroy the family is misunderstanding. He doesn't know that difficulties are inevitable for everyone, and they have appeared now in his personal life. But he thinks that he should live without difficulties in the family, that there should always be only happiness. This is incorrect thinking. It should be corrected with the help of knowledge, and then the family will be preserved. 80% of marriages in our country fall apart because of this reason. People think that if difficulties arise, then we are probably not compatible. We are not suitable for each other. We need to separate. But before that, In the previous culture, there was no such thinking. In Russia, families stayed together during difficulties. Divorce was condemned very much, even in socialist culture.
I have a second question.
About your health?
No, not about health. I understood everything about health from the lecture. I'm interested in my position in our group of 3.
Are you a teacher or a researcher?
Who?
You. You have a very strong intellect.
We had a small incident with a woman who lived with him. I didn't apologize after it, but she thinks that I am a wicked witch. He told me this today, but I told him that he shouldn't tell such things to me. She thinks that I deliberately cast a spell to make them break up because I don't want to see her with him.
You should treat her very kindly now, despite her words. She feels your connection with your son. She got scared of his words and doesn't know who to blame anymore. She is in despair. She has a tantrum. She's knocking at your heart and saying, "I'm blaming you because I don't know what to do now."
Thank you. I need to figure it out myself.
No, you have to establish a very kind, close relationship with her now.
She doesn't want to see or hear me.
Write letters and keep knocking.
So it's all about me? I need to find contact with her?
In our life, everything is always about us. You have a fate connected with this woman, and in this fate there are 3 stages. First stage is your heart. In your heart, everything is more or less done. You should start treating her kindly. You've done this. Next, the second stage of life is your relationship, as you say, contact. First, you establish this contact in prayer, and then you gain calmness and courage in relationships. You will be able to establish this contact in person as well. And the third stage of your life is connected with her. It's her opinion about you. It will change. You've already passed 1 stage, 2 remain. This is simply a matter of prayer and relationship with God. Everything is gradually overcome. The first stage is in the heart. The second stage is in relationships. The third is in her understanding of you. All this changes gradually as a result of soul's work.
I'm very grateful to you. I told my son approximately the same thing, that it's about him, that he doesn't see there are family ties. And I was right. I advised him to figure himself out, and then he will return to her.
You are doubly right, because you had the right to say these words. You have a relationship with your son. He trusts you. Therefore, you had the right to say this. Often people speak without having the right. If we haven't established relationships with someone in our heart, we can't speak. It causes an even worse reaction. Therefore, we can only pray for the person. But you have such a relationship with your son that he trusts you, and therefore you should speak like this. Now you must preserve his family through your words, through your communication with him. Regarding this woman, she is in a lot of pain right now, in a state of severe pain, and she needs help. She is a good person. You need to preserve her relationship with your son. Because your son is the kind of person who, when he gets burned, it becomes very, very difficult for him to accept someone else into his life. I see that if he leaves her, he will only have a family in 6 years next time.
What should I do?
Don't let him leave her, that's all. Preserve this family.
I have a question. Maybe others will also find this interesting. This is my son's second woman, and she is 10 years older than him. He is like a 16-year-old child for her.
With this one?
Yes. I ask him, "Do you have some kind of complex? Are you looking for a new mother? Maybe I didn't give him enough maternal love?"
You are the same. Look at yourself. You are very authoritative. It's your fate to have such a gentle and kind child. Such men usually marry women who are stronger and older.
So this is a pattern?
Of course.
And in 6 years, will he find the same type?
Yes, if he develops as a person, as a man, if he changes his feminine behavior to a stronger masculine one, then the woman next to him will change too. But these changes are extremely difficult for a person's psyche. It's very difficult for a person to change their way of perceiving the world. It's normal that they are connected this way. He has a feminine style of behavior, and she has a masculine one, but they will change if they develop morally. They just need to wait and love each other.
Thank you very much.
This woman is very wise. She deserves a happy life. There are many moments that cause disputes, but she simply loves people. She gives them the opportunity to live, to make mistakes, including that woman who unjustly slandered her. But this comes from pain. Wisdom always helps to be happy in life. Stay as wise as you are. You should also learn to pray, and then you will be able to improve your fate. We've talked a little and entered into a relationship. This is the best way to get acquainted, to become closer. This is just a conversation. Now we will talk about health.